Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Rafael P. Roman. Recent numbers show that reported sex assaults on New York City subways are on the rise for the fourth year in a row. According to NYPD statistics, police received 1,024 reports of sex offenses in the transit system last year, a 9% increase from the previous year. The number of incidents in 2016 were also up 28%. The NYPD has attributed those rising numbers to more victims choosing to come forward, thanks in part to a dedicated MTA website launched in 2014. But some public safety advocates say that more needs to be done to prevent the assaults from happening in the first place. State Senator Diane Savino, who represents parts of Staten Island and Brooklyn, has called for tougher penalties for those convicted of subway sex crimes, and she joins us now. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, Senator, first of all, what are we talking about when we talk about subway sex crimes?
Well, any woman who's ever ridden the subway, or in fact any gentleman who's ever been on the subway, has seen various levels of sex crimes occurring, from the public lewdness, those who expose themselves, to masturbating in public, to seeing someone grope or on a crowded subway train, what the police refer to as subway grinders. Mm-hmm. They sidle up behind a woman, particularly young women, and they, pretending that they're just trying to hold on to the bar, they grind into them for their own sexual perverted pleasure. And so it runs the gamut, honestly.
Yeah. So, last year your office released a comprehensive report on subway sex crimes titled Perverted Justice: How Subway Grinders Continue to Victimize New Yorkers. What did that report find? So
what we found in the 5-year period that we looked at between 2012 and 2017, there have been 3,200 reported complaints of subway sexual assault. And again, they run the gamut from public lewdness to actual forcible touching. What we have seen is a 52% increase in the report of subway sex crimes, and you made reference to the MTA's cooperation with the NYPD and with those of us who are trying to change the policy. They created a database where you could report it. And I think one of the things that helps us now catch some of these predators, and they are predators, is the rise of cell phones. When I was a young girl, I didn't have a cell phone to take pictures of some of the horrible things that I saw on the train, but people now do, and they're helping the police actually capture some of these individuals. And here's where the real problem is, Rafael. Many of them have been arrested multiple times for the same type of behavior. But because the penalties are so minuscule, there's really no deterrent for them not going back onto the subway and practicing this kind of behavior. So we need to increase the penalties and elevate the crimes.
So we'll get to that. But first of all, just to clarify, do you agree with the NYPD that the numbers are rising not because there's been more acts, but rather because more acts have been reported?
It's hard to say. It's just we're happy that people are reporting it. Years ago, people would have just gone home and been disgusted about it. But now they're seeing that the NYPD wants people to report the crimes, that something will be done if you do report the crime. So I think it's a little bit of, which came first, the chicken or the egg.
So, by the way, do we have any idea or any sense of how many of these crimes are not reported, the ratio between those that are reported and those that are not?
Unless you've been forcibly touched or someone has left behind their DNA on you, you may just accept this as part of, riding the subway system. And what we're saying to people, particularly young women, it's not. This is not something you should encounter and accept as part of your daily commute.
So you talked about how cell phones make arrests easier. Are the arrests going up?
They are, but the problem is the crime is almost, and many times it's just a misdemeanor. So you're not really getting any justice against these individuals. And in fact, they're returning right back to the subway system and engaging in the same kind of behavior.
So let's talk about your legislation. What would that legislation, in what specific ways would the penalties get tougher?
Well, first of all, the legislation I introduced the legislation at the request of the New York State Court of Appeals, which is our highest court. And they found that in a case called the People versus Mack, that there was an individual, a 300-pound man, who had engaged in repeated sexual offenses on the subway. And he got away with it for many years until eventually his DNA was entered into the state's DNA database. Once that was done, it matched quite a number of victims. There was one young girl, she was 16 years old. He grinded upon her on the train. He left behind semen on her clothes. But the district attorney wanted to prosecute this as a serious sex crime, but the law did not allow that to happen. It was in fact just a misdemeanor under the law. And so the New York State Court of Appeals said the remedy for this young woman and thousands of other young people on the subway is the legislature needs to act. They need to elevate the penalty and increase the crime to reflect the severity of what's actually happening. So what my law would do is it would take what is now considered a misdemeanor, which a misdemeanor under the law, if you were convicted, the maximum time you could spend in jail would be 1 year and a $1,000 fine. Yeah. So you can see very few people are ever incarcerated for these types of offenses. It would elevate the penalty to a Class D felony, which would make it 7 years in jail and up to a $5,000 fine.
So what's the status of the legislation?
Well, the Senate has passed this bill every year since I introduced it in 2013. The New York State Assembly has refused to take the bill up, won't even move it out of the Codes Committee. You know, you'd have to ask them that. They generally
What do
don't like
they say?
to.
What do they say?
They generally don't like to create new crimes, and they think that the penalties as they currently exist are sufficient to deter people from doing this.
Clearly not.
Clearly, they're not.
I know there's one critic, at least, who's written about this, and he seems to believe that making the penalties tougher would make innocent people more liable to get arrested wrongly. What do you say to that?
Innocent people don't expose themselves on the subway.
Right.
Innocent people don't ejaculate on on high school girls who are just trying to get to school. Innocent people don't do those things.
Right.
So I'm not sure who he thinks is going to get caught up in this, but I disagree with him.
I don't even know what the correlation would be.
I don't either. And so do the 3,200 victims who've been reported in the past
So
few
quickly,
years.
besides new legislation, anything else that can be done to reduce these number of incidents?
Public awareness, I think, has really helped. Again, the MTAs, you know, they're raising the awareness and letting people know that this is not acceptable behavior, and if you see it, you shouldn't just assume that this is what you have to put up with on the subway. Yeah. I think that's helping, and I think, you know, we just need to do more of that.
And finally, your legislation, next session, do you think is going to pass?
It will pass again in the Senate.
That's all you can say. All right, Senator, we'll have to end it there. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about this very serious issue.
Thank you, Raphael.